All right, let's go ahead and started. Get started. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Merry Christmas as well. So for this quarter, we have a couple things planned. We want to get more people, or sorry, different speakers involved in speaking. So you'll be hearing from, for one, the rest of the people that work here or that are a part of the club, not me every time. So we're going to do that. We're also going to get other students to talk about stuff. We have Jack Foyle, Chase Theodos. I want to get Dr. Glisson to talk about digital forensics. He's a very cool professor. If you haven't ever met him before, he's very intelligent, very smart. He's a cool guy. If I can pull that off, you'll hear from him, and he can talk for like 3 hours. But yeah, it's kind of like a weird buffer between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's kind of like can't really start a good like series of topics. So we're just gonna play cleanup, and we're gonna go over stuff that we didn't really go over last quarter, things that are kind of related. We're gonna go over cryptography and hashing today. And yeah, I finished this PowerPoint about 10 minutes ago. So please bear with me if like I forgot stuff. So yeah, capstones. Yeah. All right. So disclaimer, I guess, it's cryptography. I mean, if you do it right, you won't get caught. But if you don't do it right, you deserve to get caught. Cryptography runs the world, essentially. I mean, pull out your phone, connect to a website. Most websites literally do anything, and there is some sort of cryptography involved. Yeah, and you're going to learn a lot about it. So Wikipedia definition of cryptography is what we'll start with. It is the practice and study of techniques for secure communication in the presence of adversarial behavior, right? So let's focus on adversarial behavior, right? So about 5,000 years ago, it's kind of hard to, send hidden messages to people, right? Because they only had leaves and twigs, and it was difficult to write messages. So what they did, the Greeks figured this out. They were very smart. They used what's called, that thing on the left, it's called a scutali. It's a stick, but they gave it a cool name. Essentially, they took their papyrus, their parchment, and they wrapped it around the stick down like those churros, like those churros. And then they wrote their message on the stick, right? Down, wrote their stuff. And when they took it off the stick, it was just a lot of random letters. You didn't know what the heck you were looking at. So that was like the first recorded form of cryptography, a hidden message sent across the battlefield to Athens or something. And that was used by the Romans too. That never really went away because, you got to give messages to people, but you don't want the enemy to know what the hell is going on. Let's skip ahead 5,000 years to a literal economy that runs on cryptography, Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's called a cryptocurrency. I wonder why. Yeah. And back to war stuff. If you know what that is on the right, that's called the Enigma machine. We thank our Lord and Savior, Alan Turing, for breaking it and giving us really cool GPUs. And yeah, thanks for laughing at that. I didn't think I would. But yeah, so the Enigma was used by the Nazis in their Enigma machine. It was unbreakable, and then it wasn't because computers, well, I don't know what it did, but it was cool. You want to? I forgot, dude.
I can give like a really short.
Go ahead. Give a short explanation.
You would configure it with rings and two things that would connect to each other, and you would type a letter on the machine. It would send a signal and light up another letter, and then you would write it down. You'd type your whole message down. But every time you type something, the insides of the machine would physically change, and the electrical components would connect differently. So if you type a message with the exact configuration and you type the exact message, you get the same output, and you can type it backwards and it goes the other way. But if you do literally anything different, it doesn't work. So it was kind of like a mechanical electrical encryption.
What's it called? The chaos rod thing? It's the same premise, right? The chaos pendulum. It's
kind of Alan Turing built was called the bomb.
Yes, and we thank him. Okay, but yeah, So the style of hidden messages obviously differs across time periods. Back during like the Cold War, let's say, see that period at the end of behavior? In the Cold War, they could literally put a message in that period. I forget what they used, but essentially they would give it to their espionage team. They'd send it to their guy on the inside, and he could blow it up and view the secret message hidden in that period. What else did they use? I mean, modern day stuff uses AES. We'll go over that in a second. But back then they didn't have such a technological world. They had limited resources that did limited things. So they have to be creative, right? So in a literal sense, imagine there being a chest, right? I have a key to the chest. I lock the chest, and then I send that chest somewhere far away. Well, no one else has the key to that chest, well, other than the guy I want to give it to, and they can't open it. So like, well, I can't open it, so I'm not going to worry about it. Usually, they could try to break into it, but yeah. So the person that gets the chest, they have their key, and it's the same key, so they open the chest. That's literally, in most cases, cryptography summarized. So internals of it is a reinterpretation of the bits of a sequence of characters. Okay, so obviously you guys have the ASCII chart, stuff like that. There's bytes that are assigned to, or a numeric value assigned to letters, stuff like that, and we can reinterpret those bytes to be different based on a key. Your handy dandy XOR operator, that is the same function. If I XOR something by a key and it turns into gobbledygook, I can XOR it again to that same key and it goes back to what it was before. Think of it like turning things off and on. You know those memes where not memes, like those videos where it's like, what does this light switch do? Like you turn it on, this light turns off, but that light turns on. It's kind of the same thing, if you get what I'm putting down. So let's encrypt something right now. So if you take Introduction to Cybersecurity 442, like Cyan 401 or 301, or yeah, you're gonna make your own cipher. It's called a Vigenère cipher, or a Caesar cipher. I think Vigenère, but the Vigenère, yeah. So we're going to, y'all can't see that. Let me open it up. Okay, so we're gonna run it. And we're gonna provide a key. So in this case, we're gonna put the key, this is banana, right? That's our key. So if I send this, my message is going to be the quick brown fox here, jumps over the lazy dog. Going to key that in here, right? And it's gonna spew out that. So to the average person, they're gonna go, this is gobbledygook. I don't see anything here. But if let me copy this again. Let's say if I'm on the receiving end of this message, I can decrypt it. And so going from the encryption to decryption, that's called decrypting, right? So it was banana, right? Banana, input this, and there's our message. Back and forth. Went from normal to trash, back to normal. Very straightforward. That is an example of symmetric encryption, right? And modern cryptography, that's literally everywhere. Like I said before, connect to Wi-Fi. I mean, it's like, I think tech is PEA protocol. There's like tunnel TLS. There's a bunch of different protocols that rely on cryptography. Like if I order something from Amazon and I put in my credit card information, my number is not being thrown across the internet. That's not what's happening. Well, it is, but it's not really what's happening. It is cryptographically altered into a, trash. It is encrypted into a packet as it's sent across the internet to Amazon, who then decrypts it with their public key. And I get to pay for my stuff, right? And literally pretty much everything uses encryption nowadays. You're gonna hear a lot about end-to-end encryption. WhatsApp, for example, that uses end-to-end. So when I press send on WhatsApp, the message I'm sending is encrypted, and it goes all the way It does not become unencrypted until it reaches the destination, and then it is unencrypted on the other person's device. And nowhere else is it decrypted. It doesn't go to Facebook servers and they check out, oh, he's talking about whatever. No, it's not what happens. It goes straight to my recipient. They decrypt it on their machine. I think Zoom doesn't use end-to-end. So we bend the knee. It's okay, it happens. HTTP secure, not just plain HTTP. That is, if you were here for Wireshark, I think the one thing that I did that worked was based on an unsecured protocol. It was FTP, just plain unsecured. So the traffic that went out, which was a plain text password, was not encrypted, and thus we could grab it with Wireshark. Take a sip of water real quick. Okay, so yeah, I mentioned this earlier. There are two types of encryption. There's symmetric, where basically it's a key, right? Yeah, the keys are the same. So like the Vigenère cipher that I showed 5 minutes ago, that is an example of symmetric encryption using a password, right? It's kind of like a password to decrypt stuff. Very commonly used, I think it's the standard, advanced encryption standard. Yeah. So AES is what's used in almost every encryption situation. I mean, I use it for my passwords, which is probably a bad idea, but I use it anyways because I'm insane. But yeah, asymmetric, that is slightly different. It uses a public key system. So if you ever use secure or a secure shell with a private key, public key system, we're going to go over RSA in a later meeting. We can have a whole meeting on RSA, but essentially the receiving party, only the receiving party has the decryption key. So let's say if I want to connect to this FTP server, I have my private key, right? Man, I forget how that works. Damn it, Brandon, help me. Asymmetric encryption. We're gonna go over it next week, but RSA, I forgot what that stands for. Like I said, I did this literally a half hour ago.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Go over that. That's like another form of encryption that involves like more than one party. It's not just a password.
Yeah, so I did show the picture. Yeah, google.com. You can see a certificate, SSL certificate. That's what's used in asymmetric encryption. Okay, hashing. So in the passwords presentation from however long ago that was, like a month or so ago, we did a little bit about hashing. We briefly touched on it, but there's still a lot more that you should probably be aware about. Yep. So quick review. Hash is a one-way byte conversion. It goes one direction and there is no way to go back. Kind of. No way to go back unless you try every other situation. But we will discuss that in passwords. Want to know more about that? Just check out that recording. So if you look at the inputs ACE and capital ACE, the two outputs are completely different because it is crazy, Grant. It's a unique one-way byte conversion. It tries to produce a unique byte sequence for the input. There's a bunch of different hashing algorithms: MD5, message digest 5, SHA, secure hash algorithm 1, 256, 512, CRC, Whirlpool. The ones with stars, MD5 and SHA-1, those have known collisions, meaning that there are documented cases where two different inputs provide the same output. That is why they do not advise you using MD5 and SHA-1, but they're still used a lot. So premise of hashing, especially with the newer versions, 256, 512, is to provide authenticity, right? Let's say, I think for SHA-256, it's 2 to the 64 different combinations, which is very large. So there are 2 to the 64 different combinations for every input. So theoretically, yes, there is some collision out there somewhere. There's yet to be one found in the wild. It's probably happened, we just don't have it documented yet. 512 is 2 to the 128. Yes, 128, which is a little bit bigger than 256. And once again, surely there's a collision that's happened, maybe. We just don't have it documented yet. One day we may, when we hit quantum, stuff like that. But for now, those are pretty good. We're going to go over use cases, checksums. These are very useful when you're comparing files. Let's say you want to update a game, and games have a bajillion files in them, all those materials and models and sounds, maps, stuff like that. And they're like, hey, let's see if I need to update this file and download a new file version. So instead of going through every byte in the file and checking to see, hey, is this different? Is this not different? They use what's called checksums. So instead of going through this sentence, this is a very long sentence that needs blah, 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 and seeing what's different, they just compute a hash of the input or the file and then compare that. If you look very closely, you can see that the hash is in hex. Hex can be translated to a number. Numerical analysis is much, much, much faster than numerical comparison. It's much faster than string comparison because I have to go through T, then H, then I, then S, all the way down to that D that's out of place, where I could have just gotten the hash beforehand, pre-computed, compare that, hey, got to update this file, drag the new file in, download. That improves download speeds, a lot less pressure on your network, your disk, etc. And also, now I'll go in a second, but so verification. So VirusTotal is like the world's largest host of files that are scanned with a bajillion different antivirus software. And what they do, they store the hash of the input file. So let's say if I have a large file that's pretty suspicious, I could throw it onto VirusTotal. But if VirusTotal grabs the hash and say, hey, we already had this file on hand, it's not going to worry about downloading the thing you just tossed into it. It's going to grab the pre-computed hash because everything is the same, right? Because every hash is unique, supposedly. And it's going to show you the scan information of that hash. NFTs, I had to go over NFTs because those are, you can grab a picture of it. It's the same thing, right? Wrong. Technically, you're wrong because the hash of your NFT is a unique hash. It means you own this NFT based on your hash. That is why people really love art for some reason. And it's used in TCP communication when you take computer networks. If you take computer networks, you learn all about validation, checksums, stuff like that, where this message is verified, the message is hashed beforehand, it gets sent, they hash it again, make sure the comparisons, the checksums match up, and like, hey, the checksums don't match up, you messed up your message. Please send it again. That's kind of what it is. Hash tables, when you probably already took 220, you'll do hash tables, I think. Yeah, it's like the end of the quarter too. But yeah, you go over hash tables, how they're used. Essentially, in a nutshell, it's an array. It's a big array. And you take the input string, you hash it into like a low index, right? Like 0 to 5 or so. And you place it into the bucket, your bucket of arrays, your array bucket. And there are cases where you're going to have collisions, like you see John Smith, Sandra D. They collided at 2. There's different kinds of methods of counteracting that situation. There's linear probing, and then there's like double hashing, stuff like that. But yeah, and hashing versus cryptography. So what we've learned is that cryptography and hashing are very similar, but there's a slight difference. Hashing is one way. You can't go back unless you're running Medusa or Hashcat trying to reverse the password or something. Cryptography is two-way. You have a password or a key to reverse the cipher, go back to what it was before, messaging, stuff like that. Yeah. That wasn't passwords. I can go over it again, but want me to? Sure. Yeah, sure. So it is part of hashing. So whenever you store passwords, let me rewind.
What prevents two users in the database from having the same hash if they use the same password?
Well,
it's a solve.
Yes, but technically that doesn't really matter because it's a row. But we won't care about that. We'll assume that you're right. So hold on one second. So I think I had the PowerPoint of the passwords up anyways. We can just go over that again because why not? A little review. Oh, hey, look right there, salting. What do you know? Wow. All right. So, yep, salting is just adding unique random characters to a password to increase complexity. Let's say if you have a terrible 8-digit password. Yeah, eight character password, not digit, 8-character password. It's not very long, but it can be salted. I think the standard practice is to have an extra 16 characters of salt. It is a random string of characters tacked on to the end or the beginning of a password before it's hashed to complete or to increase its complexity. An 8-character password versus a 24-character password, slightly different, a little more complex, right? We go over this passwords because when you're brute forcing passwords and you're just going down the line, I think, actually I can pull it up right now. It's like howgoodismypassword.com. I think I pulled this up during passwords. Cool. Oh, all right. They moved it. Okay. Let's put in 8 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 42 minutes, right? And let's tack on a couple more characters, you know. A while. A few seconds. But yeah, so you salt it, you make things a lot harder, right? Theoretically. But I mean, if you use the same password for everything, it's kind of your fault. So, I mean, let's keep going. Yeah. Yep. 1 vigintillion years. Jesus Christ. Son of a bitch. Is this before or after the heat death of the universe? Quadragentillion. What even are these? What? Quin.
Start copy pasting.
Control A, Control C, Control V.
Oh gosh.
Oh no. I saw Google it.
I just see Google. Yeah. I don't think it likes it.
All right. Read it out, guys. Septillion, quadragentillion, million. Oh my gosh. Millenillion. It's like we're summoning a demon in here or something. Holy crap. Okay, well, yeah, if you have a password that long, I think you're fine. I don't know about you. How long is this? I need to see how long this is. I'm really curious. Cyber Chef. Oh, it didn't. What the hell? I don't know what it did. Oh, it didn't copy it. That's what it did. That's the.
Is 10 followed by 3,003 zeros. And you have
So yeah, my question still stands. Is this before or after the heat death of the universe? Because that's kind of.
We just built them.
Ooh. Let's just keep going. Watch my laptop crash. It's getting real slow. Java, let's check it out. Using 8 gigs of memory. No, that's probably fine. Nah, it's all good. But yeah, where was I going with this? I already forgot. But what about Sultan? Yeah, it makes it more complex because more is merrier. What did I say last time? Sizes and everything, but it's kind of important. It helps. So yeah, salting. I need to do peppering again. That was fun. Peppering is like salting, but it encrypts it. Hey, what do you know? So peppering is like salting, only it's a two-way thing. Let's say, I think Microsoft does this. They have a pepper. It rotates every quarter of the year for your passwords. So if you change your password or make a new account, you are assigned a pepper. I forget how it works, but essentially, it is not stored on the database, whereas salts are stored in the database. Like every person has their own salt, but peppers are a one-use thing. Like my pepper could be April, right? And it would be used as a cipher, as a key to a cipher, and then encrypt the password. So let's say if I grabbed all the hashes from the database, and I was able to brute force them and get them back, the passwords would not work because the pepper, you know, it would, it would do its thing. So it encrypts, before storage, and it's not shared. That's kind of it. Yeah, so prevents them from cracking the hashes, prevents hackers. Yeah, we've already kind of gone over this stuff. It's 6:30-ish, right? It's close enough. But yeah, does anybody else want to add anything? Password or hashing, cryptographically related? No. Yeah, y'all want to go over cryptography. There's a class of cryptography. I forgot. Has anybody taken it before? No? No one has? I don't know what goes on in there. I couldn't tell you. But no, there's, wait, is it? I thought there was an actual cryptography cyber engineering course.
No, it's a math class. It's
Oh, I know Aaron took it, but I didn't.
Aaron's there.
What? Yeah, you're right. Super senior, but
So he's in year 5.
he is super senior, but there is, I mean, if you want to take it, this is kind of where like mathematics and computer science collide. So if you like math, you can do cryptography. Dr. McAdams says it's a fun class, so take her word for it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has anything else to add. Go for it. Oh my God. Please.
Have you ever seen like, because it's like you do modulus on this byte with this byte with this byte, and then you like move them around.
It's you just
and then
you tree it
you
all
do
the
that
way
like
down.
60 something times.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason that I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they are. It's just modulus.
Oh yeah. So a lot of the new hashing algorithms are more computationally expensive to sway people from, cracking them, obviously. So back then, when the MD5 days, I mean, you could crank out a couple trillion hashes a second. Nowadays, not so much with SHA-512 because it does a lot more churning, a lot more computation. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah. Thanks for coming, I guess. I don't know. I'm still in Thanksgiving mode, so have fun in your classes, guys. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. Sorry.